Welcome to today's deep dive, where we're looking at a pretty massive stack of archaeological reports, DNA studies, and historical archives, all centered around a dry lake bed in Australia called Lake Mungo.
Right, and the mission here is to uncover how, well, basically how a pair of 40,000-year-old skeletons totally revolutionized our understanding of human history.
Yeah.
And sparked this massive scientific controversy.
Yeah.
And triggered a really profound cultural reckoning about who actually owns the past.
Exactly. And to start, I want you, the listener, to just imagine your family living in the exact same spot for 2,000 generations. I mean, that is the sheer scale of deep time we are dealing with today.
It really is. We're talking about the Willandra Lakes Region in southwestern New South Wales, which is the traditional country of the Pakanchi, the Muti and the Ngiyampa peoples.
Right.
Today, if you stand out there, it's this dry, alkaline environment with these massive crescent-shaped sand dunes. But 40 to 50,000 years ago, completely different story.
It was essentially a lush wetland, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was teeming with giant megafauna, freshwater mussels, and of course, early human communities.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit, because before we get to the modern controversies, we really need to understand the breathtaking reality of who these ancient people were.
Yeah, how they lived.
Exactly. So in 1968, geologist Jim Bowler makes this staggering discovery. He finds what we now call Mungo Lady, and her remains were partially cremated, the bones crushed, burned again, and then buried.
Right.
And then in 1974, just I think 500 meters away, he finds Mungo Man.
Yeah, just a stone's throw away, really.
Which is wild. And, we often think of Ice Age humans as primitive survivalists, but sprinkling a body with red ochre that was sourced from like 100 kilometers away, that isn't just survival.
No, not at all.
That's a profound act of love and spirituality. What does this tell us about their cognitive abilities?
Well, what's fascinating here is that Mungo Lady represents the oldest known ritual cremation in the entire world.
Wow.
In the world. The whole world. And Mungo Man is the earliest known ochre burial. I mean, this proves that 40 to 42,000 years ago, these people possessed highly sophisticated abstract beliefs regarding death and the afterlife.
They weren't just surviving, they had a culture.
Exactly. And it wasn't just how they treated their dead, it was how they lived. Jump to 2003, right? A young Aboriginal woman, Mary Papin Jr., discovers over 450 fossilized footprints in the Mungo mudflats.
Which is just, I have to jump in here. How does mud survive for 20,000 years?
It's a crazy geological fluke. You had a clay-rich layer of mud, people walked through it, and then the intense Pleistocene sun just baked it rock hard instantly.
Oh.
Yeah, and then shifting sand dunes blew over the hardened tracks and basically sealed them like a time capsule.
That is incredible. And the details in those footprints are so vivid. Like there's a one-legged man hopping along, there are children playing, and there's a hunter sprinting through the mud at 37 kilometers an hour.
Barefoot in the mud, by the way.
Right. That's a speed rivaling modern Olympic sprinters like Usain Bolt. It really paints a picture of this vibrant, athletic, deeply human community.
It really does. And because Mungo Man and Mungo Lady were so remarkably preserved, scientists eventually wanted to see what their genetics could tell us,
Right, which makes total sense on paper.
Yeah, but this quest for knowledge led to one of the most stunning blunders in modern archaeology.
Oh, man, yeah. Let's get into the DNA controversy.
So in 2001, there was this study by Adcock and his team. They used PCR testing on Mungo Man and published this absolute bombshell. They claimed his mitochondrial DNA belonged to an extinct lineage.
An extinct lineage?
Yeah, an extinct lineage that was entirely different from modern humans and crucially different from Aboriginal Australians.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Wait, so you're telling me scientists claimed Mungo Man was completely unrelated to the indigenous people living there today?
That's exactly what they claimed.
How could they get something so monumental so completely wrong?
Well, it fueled this controversial multi-regional theory of evolution for a while. But and here's the catch, PCR testing is basically like a molecular photocopier. It amplifies whatever DNA is there.
Ah, I see where this is going.
Yeah. Ancient DNA is incredibly fragile. Modern DNA is robust. In 2016, a Griffith University study used advanced next-generation sequencing to retest the samples, and they found that the 2001 sample was massively contaminated.
Massively contaminated.
Mungo Man's original sample actually contained DNA from 5 modern Europeans.
Wait, really? 5?
Including the DNA of one of the original 2001 researchers.
Oh my God, so they literally sequenced themselves and called it an extinct human species.
Basically, yes.
That is, wow, that's a staggering mistake. So
Sure.
did they ever figure out his actual DNA?
But Mungo Man's actual DNA was too degraded to read. But the 2016 team successfully sequenced another ancient skeleton found nearby, known as WLH4.
Okay, and what did that show?
They found a complete mitochondrial genome belonging to haplogroup S2, and that is a genetic lineage found exclusively among contemporary Aboriginal Australians.
So it definitively proved the 2001 study wrong.
Entirely. It genetically confirmed the deep, continuous ancestry of Aboriginal Australians stretching back tens of thousands of years.
Which is amazing. But, while the scientific community was arguing over DNA results and literally rewriting textbooks, the local indigenous communities were fighting a completely different battle.
A deeply emotional one.
Yeah, they were just trying to get their ancestors back from the laboratory because initially the remains of Mungo Man, Mungo Lady, and over 100 others were excavated and taken to the Australian National University in Canberra.
Right, and this was all without the permission or consultation of the traditional owners.
Which is just wild to think about today. I mean, imagine if someone dug up your great-grandparents from the local cemetery, put them in a suitcase, and drove them across the country to sit on a laboratory shelf in the name of science. You'd be furious.
You'd be absolutely devastated. And that's exactly how the traditional owners felt. For decades, Aboriginal elders like Alice Kelly led this intense advocacy campaign.
It was a massive clash of values, wasn't it?
Completely. Scientists believed the bones belonged to the world, that they held the keys to human evolution. But the traditional owners believed that keeping the spirits of their ancestors out of their ancestral country caused immense spiritual pain.
It was ongoing cultural harm.
Exactly.
But there was a turning point. We saw these massive victories for repatriation. Mungo Lady was returned to the lake in 1992. And then the historic 2017 return of Mungo Man. They transported him in this beautiful casket made of 8,000-year-old river red gum, followed by a convoy of elders. They finally allowed him to rest in his country.
It was a huge historic moment. But bringing the ancestors back to Lake Mungo immediately sparked a deeply complex internal debate within the indigenous community.
Right, about what resting in peace actually looks like in the 21st century.
Yes. So you have 108 returned remains. One side of the community argued for the creation of a keeping place.
Like a facility.
Exactly. A protective facility where the remains could be kept safe from erosion, accessed by descendants, memorialized, and potentially studied in the future with even more advanced, non-destructive technology.
That makes sense. But there was strong opposition to that, right?
Very strong. The other side fiercely believed the ancestors needed to be immediately and unconditionally reburied in the earth at a secret location to heal the cultural trauma once and for all.
So what does this all mean? When a community is divided on how to honor their own past, how does an issue like this actually get resolved?
Well, it ended up in court. In May 2022, there was an 11th hour legal challenge by Jason Kelly, an Aboriginal man who actually wanted to halt the reburial to protect the remains in a keeping place.
Oh, wow. So he was trying to stop the reburial legally.
Yes. But ultimately, the federal court dismissed the legal challenge. They validated the reburial under cultural traditions. So a delegation of Aboriginal people secretly reburied Mungo Man, Mungo Lady, and the others in the earth. It was a profound act of closure, but it did leave a legacy of deep emotional division among some of the elders.
It's so complex. I mean, looking at this whole deep dive, these sources don't just show us the oldest continuous culture on Earth, complete with, Usain Bolt-level sprinters and ancient spiritual rituals.
No, they show us much more than that.
They show us that history isn't just something safely locked away in a textbook. It is alive, it's emotional, and it's actively contested today.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really reminds us that knowledge is only valuable when we understand the human cost of acquiring it. Science told us when these people lived, but the traditional owners taught us how to respect them.
That is perfectly said. And it leaves us with something pretty heavy to mull over. Because as technology like DNA sequencing continues to advance, we will soon have the power to unlock the deepest secrets of every ancient bone on this planet.
We absolutely will.
But just because we can extract that data, does it mean we should? Where do we draw the line between our endless hunger for scientific knowledge and the sacred ancient right to simply rest in peace?